Imagine you had a time machine that could take you back 10 or even 20 years. If you could give yourself a piece of advice to change the course of your life, do you think you could make yourself a better person? Maybe. So my second question is, what would that advice be? Don't trust men. I'd like everyone to think about this and write their thoughts on the chat screen. So today, we're introducing a heavyweight in the tech world. His name is Kevin Kelly. He's a digital prophet, a philosopher, and one of the sharpest observers of global tech trends. He was the founding editor-in-chief of Times Wired, a magazine often referred to as the Bible of the tech world. In a video series, Kevin Kelly offered 68 pieces of life advice for people in their 20s and beyond. That many? Yes, that many. I originally planned to highlight just a few key points, but I realized every single one is essential. So today, we'll cover all 68 pieces of advice Kevin Kelly has for young people. The video is a bit long, so I recommend taking your time to watch it. I believe that if we read through these 68 pieces of advice, understand them, and put them into practice, our minds will surely be enriched. Tip 1. Learn from those who disagree with us, even those who attack us, and see if you can find some truth in the things they believe and hold dear. Where do I think the key point of this advice lies? It's that as long as we are human, our vision inevitably has blind spots. I used to often say, people cannot see what they cannot see. For example, imagine there's a wall in front of you. If there's an egg behind that wall, and someone standing diagonally across from you claims there's a basket of eggs right in front of them, you would absolutely refuse to believe it because you can't see that egg. So, when we want to understand the full picture of a situation, we must sometimes step into the other person's shoes and try to believe what they believe. Only then can we see things more comprehensively. By viewing things from both your own perspective and theirs, you're, in a sense, elevating your own perspective, as if you're seeing a 3-view diagram of a situation rather than just a glimpse through a keyhole. When you have more information, your chances of success increase. Let me give you a simple example to illustrate this. Suppose you're a designer. You've used your professional skills to create a design, and when you show it to the client, they say, "This is crap." As a designer, your first reaction would likely be, "The client just doesn't understand." But is it possible that you've actually designed something terrible without realizing it? Is it possible that all the technical expertise you've applied is just self-indulgent? Of course, it's possible. That's why you must always think from the client's perspective. What is art? Art is a highly rational generalization. You've applied your technical skills in the wrong context. Do you know who this design is for? It's for all consumers. If consumers can't grasp it, it's a failure. So if you're willing to adopt the client's perspective and genuinely view your own work as crap, it will absolutely benefit you. From then on, you'll understand what user-centric thinking truly means. As a user, I just look at whether something is attractive or unattractive, useful or useless. I don't need to know how much technology you used. You see, I'm a communicator, so I often think about one thing, whether people can understand what I'm saying. If people don't understand what I say, even if I'm eloquent and my logic is crystal clear, it's definitely my fault I didn't explain it clearly enough. After all, what's the purpose of speaking? To be understood, to exchange information. If I say something and people don't get it, then I've just wasted my breath. Am I just talking to myself? So I believe my first piece of advice is both understandable and genuinely helpful. Second piece of advice, becoming an enthusiastic person will boost your IQ by 25 points. How do we define IQ? Is it about problem solving? If the same situation is presented to you, the final outcome of how you solve it will definitely differ depending on whether you approach it with fiery passion, lukewarm indifference, or even aversion. For example, girls generally enjoy applying makeup, but if you ask a guy to do his own makeup, he certainly won't do it as well as a girl he lacks enthusiasm, so he'll likely mess it up. But can you say this guy has a lower IQ than the girl? No, he just lacks enthusiasm. By cultivating enthusiasm and learning to find passion even in things you don't like, you'll perform those tasks much better. The third piece of advice is to always set a deadline. In other words, always establish a deadline. Deadlines weed out the superfluous and the mediocre. They prevent you from chasing perfection, forcing you instead to seek innovation and stand out. And standing out is far better. Why shouldn't you pursue perfection? Because many people say, "I'm a perfectionist, so that's why I procrastinated, and that's why I didn't finish." Isn't that nonsense? If you haven't even started, you've scored 0. Yes, it's not about aiming for 100 after getting 95 if you haven't finished. It's a 0, so you must set a deadline. Once you set a deadline, It forces you to think outside the box and find shortcuts to get the job done. There are shortcuts in life, and there are shortcuts to getting things done. If you're asked to design a blueprint, you don't have to say, "I'll do it the old-fashioned way, it's just tedious work," and then find yourself still not finished by the 12 o'clock deadline. You can use AI. As long as you use AI effectively, I don't care how you get it done. Actually, this third piece of advice came from a former boss of mine. He said, "Tony, you're smart, right? But I don't know if you can actually get things done. If you really want to succeed, you must set a deadline for yourself." I didn't fully understand it at the time, but I took it as gospel. Always set a deadline for yourself. Point 4. Don't be afraid to ask a question that sounds stupid, because 99% of the time, everyone else is thinking the same thing, they're just too shy to ask. Plus, we've covered this in a previous episode. When you want something, all you have to do is ask. Because once you ask, it's like pulling a trigger. You've activated an automatic response mechanism that will inevitably bring you more information. We gave a simple example. If you want a raise, do you first ask how to get one? What criteria do I need to meet to get a raise? If you don't ask, you'll never know if you're on the wrong track. You might not even be meeting the requirements your boss or supervisor has set. But if you don't ask, you'll never know. Once you ask, you'll at least be on the right path. Sometimes, just by asking, they'll give you a raise right away. It's that simple. Tip 5. Being a good listener is a superpower. When listening to someone you love, keep asking, "Is there anything else you want to say?" until they have nothing left to say. "I don't get this one, so why dig so deep?" Probably not. I just feel like there's more to it than meets the eye. She has 68 tips. You wouldn't let her get away with a half-hearted one, would you? How could she be so superficial? Impossible. She's definitely deeper than that, right? Let's find the wise ones in the comments section. If anyone can interpret this with some depth, give them a thumbs up. Suggestion 6. A year-end goal worth setting is to learn about a specific subject so that a year from now, when you look back, you'll realize just how ignorant you were a year ago. This is a very interesting point. It means that when you learn something new, looking back a year later, you realize just how ignorant you were. It shatters your previous understanding. We've said that personal growth isn't just about the accumulation of time. Some people grow old and become old fools. In other words, they've accumulated time but haven't evolved. So why do some people grow wiser as they age, while others turn into old fools? It's because they haven't evolved. They're still clinging to the beliefs they held a year ago. But no one can be right all the time. The most important lesson I learned last year was the value of collaboration. I used to think collaboration was unreliable. I didn't want to collaborate at all. I'd ask, what can our company do on its own? Looking back now, that was incredibly foolish. That mindset made running my company in Beijing incredibly difficult back then, but things are much easier now. Point 7. A grateful heart or a sense of gratitude unlocks all your virtues. And this gratitude is something you can cultivate and improve over time. I think this point makes sense. Once you learn to be grateful, you'll naturally treat others well, and you'll naturally bring out your other virtues. For example, once I'm truly grateful for everything my friend has done for me, I will become more generous toward him. I'll be especially gentle with him, and I won't show him the negative aspects of my personality. Because if I'm truly grateful to this friend, that's how I'll act. I think they mentioned this point in the episode with Jackie Chan, yes. Because Jackie Chan is particularly kind to the people around him. He truly understands gratitude. Tip 8. Treating someone to a meal is never a bad idea, and it's very simple to do. It's a great way to show appreciation to old friends, and a great way to make new ones. Am I good at this? My colleagues mentioned this to me before, and I actually scoffed at the idea back then. Now that I hear it, it seems to make sense, so I'm going to take this to heart. The 9th point is very important. Never believe in a one-size-fits-all solution. Confused? I knew there was a deeper meaning behind this. People can't see what they can't see. But I understand what this means. Do you get it? Don't believe that there's anything in this world that's a one-time fix. What kind of mistake do we often make? When I have personal issues, I might think, if I find a good partner, will my life be happy from then on? That doesn't exist. Maybe my situation isn't great right now, and I'm facing some difficulties at work. Do I keep thinking that one day, after I finish a certain task, all my problems in the world will be solved once and for all? That doesn't exist. Never entertain such illusions. Our teachers have taught us to abandon illusions and prepare for struggle. These contradictions and struggles will always exist. Don't believe in a one-size-fits-all solution. If someone in this world tells you, I have a universal solution, learn this, and all your problems will be solved, it's impossible. This is common sense. but we humans often overlook common sense because of our own desires. Point 10. Reading bedtime stories to your children will deepen your bond with them and spark their imagination. Since I don't have children, I won't discuss this one. Tip 11. Never use a credit card for purchases. The only acceptable form of credit or debt is for buying assets that appreciate over time, such as a house. The exchange value of most items decreases or even disappears the moment you buy them, so don't go into debt for things that are bound to depreciate. In other words, if you have the money, you can buy a car. If you have to take out a loan to buy one, don't. Houses are a different story. I think the meaning of this is simple. What does having debt represent? High risk, right? Right, high risk must come with high returns. If it's high risk with low or even negative returns, don't do it. I think this principle applies to many things. Tip 12. Professionals are simply amateurs who know how to learn gracefully from past mistakes. Let me put it another way. People who appear professional were once amateurs themselves. They simply learned to continuously and gracefully correct their mistakes and iterate. And that's how they became professionals. In other words, if you want to become a professional in a certain field, keep gracefully correcting your mistakes and iterating. To put it another way, don't be afraid of those who are already professionals. They were once amateurs too. They simply used the right methods to gradually become professionals. Tip 13. If you believe in fate, you must present me with extraordinary evidence before I can believe that fate truly exists. If someone tells me that fate does not exist in this world, that it cannot be calculated, then please also present extraordinary evidence before I can believe it. Whether you believe in fortune telling or not, extraordinary evidence is required. Otherwise, I remain skeptical. If what you're saying defies common sense, please provide exceptionally compelling evidence. In most cases, common sense accounts for 99% of the answer. If your claims go against common sense, please present that 1% of extraordinary evidence. Otherwise, I won't believe you. Tip 14. Don't be the smartest person in the room. What does that mean? Is it telling you to be humble? Not exactly. It's not about standing out from the crowd. Rather, you should leave the crowd and become the smallest duck in a flock of ducks. Then learn from the stronger, better flying ducks. What this means is that if you're the smartest person in the room, well, sorry, but you'd better find another room. Tip Hasson 5. The 3-step rule for conversation. To uncover the real reason, first ask the other person to explain what they just said in more detail, then ask again and ask once more. The third answer is often the closest to the truth. Let's take an example right now. Suppose I ask you a question. Do you like your job? I guess I do. So you do like it? Right. Why do you like your job? Because I think work is a serious matter. No, you didn't dig deep enough. Do you like it just because it's a serious matter? Are there many serious things? It's just that I need something serious. I feel that work is the most serious thing in my life. So, you're saying you need a serious element in your life to manage yourself properly. Otherwise, you'd lose control, and life would lack this so-called order. Right, that's the second time. Now the third time, why do you need order in your life? I don't know. Okay, if you can answer that, you're really getting close to the truth. Think about it, doesn't that give you goosebumps? At the very least, after asking twice, I know you're someone who needs order, and the answer I get is much, much deeper than your first response. Ask 3 times, dig 3 times deeper, and you'll get an answer with much, much higher information density. It's that simple. Tip 16. Don't aim to be the best. Aim to be one of a kind. Because there is no such thing as the best. Where is the best? What standard are we using, right? Article 17. Everyone feels shy. Others are waiting for you to introduce yourself to them. They're hoping you'll send them an email, and they're also waiting for you to ask them out. So sometimes, when you look around the room and make eye contact with someone, it feels awkward. But just go ahead and ask, it's okay. Don't be afraid. Everyone feels awkward. Do you like awkward parties? You probably wish there was someone who didn't care at all. Someone who could just take the lead and organize things for everyone. You definitely hope for that. You can be that person. It's fine. Everyone else is afraid. Tip 18. When someone turns you down, don't take it personally. Pretend you're just as busy or distracted as they are, and try again later. You'll be surprised to find that a second attempt often works. Everyone's in a different state of mind. When they're stressed, they're more likely to say no. Tip 19. The purpose of a habit is to eliminate the internal debate over your actions. You no longer need to spend time and energy deciding whether to do something. You just do it, and that's it. That's a habit. I often feel that sometimes having too many choices isn't a good thing. That's right, today I could watch a movie at home or go out and socialize with others. Oh, I'm so torn. You might spend half an hour debating whether to go out and socialize at a dinner party or stay home and watch a movie. Once you've developed a good habit, there's no need to agonize over it. You just do it, and that's that. Because no matter what you choose, you'll end up regretting it. No, actually, no matter what you choose, you're likely to gain something from it, right? That's exactly the point. Tip #20. Punctuality is a sign of respect. If you ask a guy out and he's late, tell him to get lost. If you ask a girl out and she's late, just suck it up and try again. Just kidding. Just kidding. It depends on the person. Some people just don't like being respected. That's how it is. Tip 21. When you're young, spend at least 6 months to a year living as frugally as possible. The fewer possessions you have, the better. Live in a tiny room or a tent. Eat beans and rice, and experience the worst possible lifestyle. That way, when you want to take a risk in the future, you won't be afraid of the worst case scenario. I actually did that after high school. I spent 6 months working and traveling. Oh my gosh. But I actually disagree with this point a little. Where do I disagree? It's that after going through that experience, I reminded myself never to take risks again. I thought the same thing. I assumed that's what he meant, that I shouldn't engage in too many risky behaviors. But there's another layer to it, you know. I've always encouraged everyone, including those around me, to be frugal. Why? I believe a frugal lifestyle is the greatest defense against risk. Yes, for example, even if you earn a lot, you still only eat 3 meals a day. There's no need to eat exceptionally expensive food. Just eat until you're full. Stick to normal meals. Then, if one day you run out of money, you'll still eat normally, and it won't have a massive impact on your life. For a while, I used to fly first class or take private cars, but then I forced myself to fly economy class. I never know when my time might come, but after doing it twice, I got used to it. I also force myself to take the express train occasionally, even though it can be a bit rough at times, and I make myself take public transportation every now and then. Even though that's a bit of a self-inflicted ordeal, I always feel that doing these things gives me immense courage. It makes me realize life goes on just fine, and I don't actually feel uncomfortable. It's just that the seats are a bit harder. The main issue is that I get terribly carsick. Sometimes when the car decelerates, I feel like throwing up the moment I get out. It's really that bad. I don't get carsick when I'm driving, but I do when I'm a passenger. Tip 22. He says, trust me, there is no they. It reminds me of a friend who's always saying, they say this and that. I'd ask, who? Who exactly? What they? Right? Life is a game you play with yourself. All this everyone says, just forget about it. Tip 23. The more interested you are in others, the more interesting they'll find you. So please become interesting, and please take an interest in others. I can elaborate on this. No matter who I meet, I always have so many questions. Why is that? Because I maintain a sense of curiosity about people. Sometimes I realize I genuinely want to ask a question, and once I ask it, the other person becomes interested in me too. They find my question quite interesting. So asking questions is a daily habit of mine. Even at the start of our videos, we often pose 2 questions. I'm not sure if I've interpreted this correctly, but I think it boils down to maintaining curiosity, making yourself interesting, and taking an interest in others. Tip 24. Be as generous as possible. No one on their deathbed regrets spending too much, giving too much, or contributing too much. No one ever regrets that. On your deathbed, you'll only regret not having done enough. That makes sense. Right. First of all, I've never been married. And second, I am a bit of a tightwad, so I don't really know. Tip 25. If you want to make something better, just start doing it. If you want to make something truly remarkable, just do it. Do it, and it'll work out. The 10,000 hour rule plus 10,000 iterations, that's how it becomes remarkable and great. Isn't that exactly how our account works? Yes. Isn't even one post enough? Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep iterating. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Slowly but surely, it'll get better, right? Tip 26. It's called the golden rule. It will never let you down. It's the foundation of all other virtues. Right, I was going to ask that too. I don't quite understand this statement yet, but I'll try to make sense of it. The so-called golden rule refers to those truths that have stood the test of time and haven't lost their luster. For example, being optimistic or learning to be grateful. I believe that insights like these, which have stood the test of time, are absolutely sound. These are the fundamentals, just as Warren Buffett said. As long as you trust common sense, you won't go wrong. Or at least, you'll rarely go wrong. Let me ask you this. Is that just empty talk? It may seem like empty talk, but you have to keep reminding yourself that it's actually not. Why? Look at those who've lost money in the stock market. What's their common trait? Do they not believe in common sense? Do they believe in low risk and high returns? Of course they'll lose money. Which investor isn't after low risk and high returns? That's precisely a failure to believe in common sense. Common sense dictates that high risk brings high returns, and low risk brings low returns. So when you lose money, you have to admit it because you didn't trust common sense. Tip 27. Imagine you're looking for something in a room and finally find it. When you're done using it and put it back, don't put it where you found it, put it back where you first looked for it. Where was your first instinct when you were looking for it? Since I almost never find things, I don't know if what he's saying makes sense. I'm terrible at finding things I look and can't find them. I'm just that clueless, like I have some kind of special ability. So if I lose something, where do I look? You just need to go in the exact opposite direction to find it. Tip 28. Saving and investing are both good habits. Regularly setting aside small amounts of money over many years, without overthinking it, is also a path to wealth. Tip 29. Making mistakes is human nature. Having the courage to own up to them is noble. Nothing builds character more than quickly admitting a mistake, taking personal responsibility, and correcting it fairly. If you make a mistake, just own up to it. The strength it takes to take responsibility like that is amazing. Yeah, it's scary. Tip 30. What's so funny? It says never get involved in a land war in Asia. The Americans wanted to fight us. They got dragged into the Korean War, then ran off to Vietnam and got bogged down. That's what happened this time. So he says, never be foolish enough to get involved in a land war in Asia. It's a mess. Recommendation 31. You can focus on serving your clients, customers, or audience, or you can focus on defeating your competitors. Both approaches work, but compared to the latter, focusing on serving your customers will take you further. Have you all seen business war movies? They're all about bringing down rival companies, and that's fine. But what's more important? It's winning over your customers. So you don't need to compete with anyone else. The main thing is to compete with yourself to do better at, to satisfy your customers. Then your competitors won't stand a chance against you. It's the same within a company. You don't need to compare yourself to those around you. What matters is winning over your boss. Tip 32. Just show up and keep showing up. He mentioned that a very successful person once said, 99% of success is simply about showing up. In other words, showing up accounts for 99% of the absolute factors in success. He might have forgotten who said it, but it was a world-renowned director, John Woo. When asked what the secret to his success was, he replied, showing up. Being seen is crucial. You have to be seen to have a chance. Everything else is just probability. For example, let's say I go to see a client. The chance that this client will give me the business might be only 1%. But if he sees me 1,000 times, if I meet with him consistently for 3 years, and he sees me every day, he's very likely to give me the business, right? Yes, it's that simple. To make big money, being seen by the right person is crucial. In other words, if you want to win someone over, you just keep hanging around in front of them, right? One day, they'll finally give in, right? They'll think, maybe we should just make it work. And then you've got it, right? Tip 33. Separate the creative process from the refinement process. You cannot write and edit, carve and polish, or create and analyze all at the same time. If you do, editing will hinder creation. Do not filter while creating. Do not inspect while sketching. And do not reflect while drafting. At the outset of creation, the creator's mind must be free from judgment and constraints. Tip 34. If you don't stumble frequently, it proves you're merely going with the flow. In other words, if a person experiences few failures in life or work, it proves they are merely treading water. Because as long as you try, there is a possibility of failure. Tip 35. The most counterintuitive universal truth is this. The more you give to others, the more you actually receive. He says that understanding this truth is the beginning of wisdom. That makes sense, but I don't think I've gained that wisdom yet. I'd like to say I haven't attained enlightenment or wisdom either. Oh my, what's going on here? Has everyone gained that wisdom yet? Share your thoughts in the comments section. Article 36. Friends are better than money. Do you agree? You don't agree? I'm not afraid to disagree. You're welcome to disagree. Do you agree? Not entirely. I'm not done yet. He says that almost anything money can do, your friends can do, and do it better. He says that often, if your friend has a boat, it's better than buying one yourself. Does that make sense? It does. That's the idea, right? Yes. For example, if you want to pay someone to do a design for you, it's better to have a friend who knows how to design. Take my IP incubation course. Many people pay to take it, but if they were my friends, they could ask me questions from time to time, and I'd help them along the way. You know how sometimes you just call someone and say, yeah, yeah, yeah? Well, when my friends ask me these kinds of questions, I'll call them back and tell them exactly what to do. Tip 37. It's very hard to deceive an honest person. Who do you usually try to deceive? It's those looking for a bargain. How do you trick someone who thinks they can snag a national treasure? Because they're not genuinely interested, they just want to buy a national treasure for maybe 200 yuan, hoping to get a steal. That's why they're easy to deceive. A truly honest person relies on common sense. They believe in self-reliance, so they won't be deceived. It's very hard to trick them. Of course, there may be other interpretations, but this is my basic understanding. Tip 38. In 99% of cases, a lost item is hidden near the last place it was seen, within arm's reach. So if you search every possible spot within that radius, you'll find it. Do you know what this statement reveals? Balu is always losing things. I was just about to say he must lose things all the time. Why does he keep bringing this up in the second tip? As for losing and finding things, you can ignore his advice. It's not very useful. He's about the same as me. I guess he found it. If he did, then he's a bit more capable than I am. Tip 39. You are what you do, not what you say, not what you believe, not what you vote for, but what you spend your time doing. I always say this. My catchphrase is, you are what you do. You are defined by your actions. If you ask me what kind of person I am, I'm definitely a workaholic. I'm a workaholic, plain and simple. There's nothing more to it, right? Because I spend most of my time working. I even film vlogs when I'm on vacation. I judge people the same way. I look at where they spend most of their time. I don't believe what you say. I don't believe your promises. And I don't believe your social media posts. I just watch what you do. You are what you do. If what you do is childish, then you're a child. I'm not buying any of your nonsense. Who doesn't know how to lie? If it comes to lying, I can spin a better tale than anyone. Just watch how they act. That's what it means to judge a person by their actions, not their intentions. I want to see what you do. Don't tell me what you're thinking or what you say. It's useless. Tip 40. If you've lost or forgotten to bring your data cable, adapter, or charging cable, ask at your hotel. Most hotels have a drawer where they keep adapters and charging cables left behind by other guests. If you borrow one and return it later, you'll likely find what you need. This guy is just like me. I almost never bring a charging cable when I go out. First, I can borrow a power bank on the go. And second, once I get to the hotel, I just call and ask for one. Don't follow his example in this regard. Trust me, what's with this? Losing things and not bringing a charging cable, it's exactly like me. Oh my goodness. Back when I ran an internet company, my cameraman said, "Bro, I really need an assistant." I asked why, and he said, "Because I'm doing this job on top of my own." He definitely has this kind of problem. Don't try this at home. Tip 41. Hatred is a curse. It doesn't harm the one you hate, but only harms the hater. So letting go of resentment is like putting down poison. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this statement. But while it's easy to say, putting it into practice depends on how well you integrate it into your life. Suggestion 42. The pursuit of excellence is endless. While talents are unevenly distributed, there is no limit to what we can achieve with the resources we have. What does this mean? It means that while your talents may be limited, or perhaps lie in a very niche area, within that specific domain, there is no limit to what you can achieve with your unique combination of abilities. Tip 43. Be prepared. When you've completed any major project, whether it's a house, a movie, an event, or an app, and you've reached what's often called the 90% done stage, meaning you've completed 90% of the work on a significant undertaking, the countless remaining details will require another 90% of your effort to finish. In other words, don't pop the champagne until it's fully finished. As the saying goes, the last 10 miles of a 100-mile journey are the hardest. Never think, I've done 90%, so I'm almost there. No, no, no. You still need to put in a little more effort. Tip 44. When you die, you can't take anything with you except your reputation. Actually, you can't even take your reputation with you. It's left behind, not taken away. What you can't take, you can't leave behind. What you can't leave behind, don't worry about. After all, when you die, you can't take anything with you. Tip 45. While you're still young, attend as many funerals as possible and listen carefully. No one talks about the deceased's achievements. People only talk about what they were like when they achieved them. Take Steve Jobs, for example. Everyone says he was a psychopath. Didn't you know? People were terrified of riding in an elevator with him. He'd ask you 2 questions, just like in our video, and if he wasn't satisfied with your answers, he'd fire you on the spot. That's exactly how it was. But does that matter? It doesn't really seem to. He's dead now. Why dwell on that? Exactly. You can't take it with you. But he invented Apple. Come on. Tip 46. If you spend 100 yuan on something, be prepared to spend another 100 yuan to repair it, maintain it, and keep it looking good. If you buy a 1 million yuan house, you'll have to spend another 1 million yuan until you've squeezed every last bit of value out of it. If you buy a car, you'll have to spend 2 million yuan on repairs, gas, insurance, and everything else. In other words, you must spend your money wisely. You must understand that after purchasing an item, if you truly wish to own it, you'll need to spend an equal amount to maintain it. This reminds me of a story. King Zhou once wanted to use ivory chopsticks, but his minister Bigan objected. King Zhou retorted, "Is it not even permissible for me to use ivory chopsticks?" He replied, "If you use ivory chopsticks today, you will need a gold bowl to match them. Once you have the gold bowl, you will feel the table is inadequate. Once you have a suitable table, you will feel the entire hall is inadequate, and you will embark on massive construction projects." I believe this advice, to some extent, teaches us to be prudent with our money. You must be aware of what lies ahead and think more deeply about the consequences. Tip 47. Every real thing begins with the imagination of what it might become. Therefore, imagination is the most powerful force in the universe, and it is a skill that can be continually improved. It is the only skill in life from which one benefits by ignoring what others know. The importance of imagination. Tip 48. When crises and disasters strike, do not let them go to waste. Without problems, there is no progress. In other words, when misfortune strikes in your life, treat it as an opportunity to learn something from it at any time. I've heard a saying that I find very insightful. Every difficulty you encounter is a penalty for a lack of a certain skill. I often use this example. If you go to the US without knowing English, it's not that you've hit a snag, it's that you lack the ability to speak English. You say you have stupidity aversion, but in a way, that's actually a lack of communication skills. If people don't understand what you say, does that mean your expression is flawless? Actually, my expression is fine. I'm the type who apologizes whenever I make a mistake, so why don't I ever apologize? Because I've never made a mistake. Just kidding. I've also heard a foreigner say he particularly loves a Chinese phrase, crisis. He said the word crisis is brilliant because it means danger is opportunity. Wait a minute, when danger comes, there's an opportunity. When opportunity comes, there's also danger. I really think that's a brilliant word. Tip 49. When on vacation, start by visiting the most remote destination on your itinerary and avoid cities. In remote areas, you'll be most deeply moved by the local culture, and on your way back, you'll appreciate the familiarity and comfort of the city even more. It feels like the teacher is sharing a travel tip? Yes, a travel tip. This person loves to travel and is always losing things and whatnot. It doesn't really seem like a serious matter. Tip #50. When you receive an invitation to an event in the future, ask yourself, if this event were scheduled for tomorrow, would I accept it? Very few commitments can withstand this test of immediacy. In other words, if I don't want to go tomorrow, I won't want to go a year from now either. If a friend invites you to their wedding and you don't want to go tomorrow, you won't want to go a year from now either. Just decline on the spot. But wouldn't that be rude? It's okay. Separate the invitation from the person. Tip 51. Never say anything in an email or WeChat message that you'd be too embarrassed to say to someone's face, because they'll eventually see it. Tip 52. If you're desperate for a job, you're just another problem for the boss. But if you can solve many of the problems the boss is currently facing, you'll get hired. To get hired, you need to think like the boss. Let's say you're applying for a job at a company. If you're only there to solve a specific work-related problem, you're a burden to that company. If you're a burden, you'll likely be fired soon, or the job won't be one you enjoy. Before applying, if you've improved a specific skill and are confident that you can help the boss solve certain problems once you join the company, rest assured this will definitely be a good job for you. So you need to shift your mindset. When solving problems, adopt the mindset of the person who set the problem. You need to know what they're testing you on. Or take TikTok, for example. Many people say you have to buy Do Plus to succeed. Isn't that foolish? Don't you realize TikTok faces intense competition? With so many video platforms in China, what it needs is quality content. Isn't buying Do Plus just a way for others to profit off you? They're making money off your dime, no question about it, right? But the truth is, as long as you have good content, you won't be throttled, you'll definitely get promoted. Because only by promoting good content can it compete with other platforms. In other words, you need to think things through clearly, whether you're going head-to-head in business, doing TikTok, or anything else. Good content will always get promoted. Because only by showcasing better creators and higher quality content can it retain top-tier creators. And the place with the most talented creators is the place that attracts the largest audience. These video apps all aim to attract more viewers and keep their top creators within their own ecosystem, preventing them from jumping ship to other platforms. So, from this fundamental perspective, as long as your content is good, it will definitely be promoted. For example, the most important thing Douyin does is refine its algorithm to ensure good content gets seen. So you only need to do one thing: produce great content. Tip 53. Art lies in the negative space. I don't get it, do you? I sort of get it. Sort of getting it means you don't get it at all, right? If you understand or not, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section, but whatever you do, don't pretend to know what you don't. Don't come at me with some Song Dynasty aesthetics nonsense, don't give me that crap. Article 54. Possessing material things rarely brings you this kind of true, deep sense of fulfillment, but experiencing things can. In other words, I often say, do we really have to rent such an expensive apartment? Do we really have to eat such expensive meals? Is it necessary to spend thousands on a single meal? No, it's not. If I took that same money to go on a trip to Xinjiang, I'd be over the moon. Material things rarely bring you satisfaction, but experiences are different. Experiences can truly bring you fulfillment. They transform your life. Do you know what happens when you eat an expensive meal? It turns into shit. But if you go on a trip to Xinjiang, guess what? You become a different person. It's that simple. Tip 55. The 7-layer rule. In research, as long as you're willing to ask 7 layers deep, you can find almost any answer. If the first person you ask doesn't know, ask them who you should ask next, and so on. If you're willing to do this with the 7th source of information, you'll almost always get the answer. Have you heard the saying that there are never more than 6 degrees of separation between you and anyone you want to meet? Yeah, I've heard that. That's exactly what I mean. It means there's actually a way for me to meet Musk. Sometimes it's hard to wrap my head around, but other times I really feel that way. For example, when I first started working with Lu Shu at 25 or 26, she called me bro, you know? I said, bro, I'm your bro and Kobe is your bro too. Doesn't that mean I'm connected to Kobe? Let's think about this carefully. I know Lin Ruhao, right? Does Lin Ruhao know Kobe? Does Kobe know Trump? Does that mean I can meet Trump? If I just ask him, beg on my knees, please, just give me his contact info, he might actually give it to me. Or if I want to meet Jordan Kobe and Jordan were bros, but now you're missing the Kobe link? Yeah. Don't bring up such sad stuff. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. I was really shaken when Kobe passed away. I woke up that morning feeling numb. I was truly numb. Suggestion 56. A lot of people don't even know how to apologize. If you don't know how to apologize, there's nothing you can do about it. Tip 57. Never respond to sales pitches or offers over the phone. The other person's sense of urgency is just a facade. Tip 58. When someone speaks harshly to you, is rude, hateful, or mean, pretend they're sick. This makes it easier to feel sympathy for them and often resolves the issue. I actually do practice this. Do I? Give it a thumbs up. I hope that if you ever have the chance to meet me in the future, and if I happen to be hostile, rude, unreasonable, or full of hatred towards you, please remember that I'm sick. Be sure to feel sympathy for me and don't hold a grudge against me. Tip 59. Clear out the clutter to make room for what's truly real to you. Tip 60. You don't actually want to be famous. Read the biography of any famous person. I don't get it. I really don't understand this limited perspective. Is there anyone who truly understands this who could write something for me? Or is there a real celebrity who could comment on this? Would that work? Let's have a celebrity comment on this for us. Please. Not an internet celebrity, but a real celebrity. Tip 61. Experience is overrated. When hiring, prioritize qualifications. Skills can be developed later. Most truly remarkable or great achievements are accomplished by those who take the first step. Suggestion 62. A vacation plus a disaster equals an adventure. That makes sense. I think his brother just goes on too many vacations. He has a lot of experience with them. If you're someone like him, with plenty of money and free time to go on frequent vacations, and a disaster happens while you're away, you can treat it as an adventure. What he's saying is that we should be more positive. That is, look at things from a different perspective. Then, even the same disaster might seem more interesting to you. Tip 63. When buying tools, start by getting the cheapest ones you can find. Upgrade only the tools you use frequently. If something ends up being used as a work tool, buy the best one you can afford. Tip 64. We should learn to take a 2-0-minute nap during the day without feeling awkward. This might help restore your energy. But I can't fall asleep. I can't fall asleep either. But I still need to learn how I want to learn too. Tip 65. If you don't know what you truly love, blindly chasing your inner joy will only leave you paralyzed. For most young people, a better motto is master something, anything at all. By mastering one thing, you can gradually expand that skill to gain more joy, and eventually you'll discover the source of your happiness. In other words, what does this mean? It means you should do something. It doesn't necessarily have to be something you like, but you should strive to master it. As long as you keep refining your skills, you'll naturally find joy in it. Yes, that's why I disagree with people who say you should find a job that makes you happy. The job itself isn't what makes you happy. Happiness comes naturally when you do it well. It's like when Tyson said he didn't like boxing. Do you know what Tyson really loved? Raising pigeons. But the more he boxed, the more he naturally found joy in it. Tip 66. I am certain that 100 years from now, many of the truths I hold today will be proven wrong, even to the point of being embarrassingly wrong. I strive to identify exactly where I am mistaken today. In other words, people shouldn't be too arrogant or too dogmatic. I don't think we're qualified to think that deeply yet. Just doing a good job with what's right in front of us is enough. This might be inspiring for those at the very top. For me, not yet. I can't think that far ahead. Suggestion 67. In the long run, the future is shaped by optimists. To be an optimist, you don't need to ignore the many problems we've created. You must imagine how we can improve our ability to solve them. He says the future is shaped by optimists. Can we really shape the future? I don't think we're in a position to do that yet. All we can do is handle the tasks right in front of us. This guy is talking way too high level. His words are hard for most people to grasp. Is there a wise person out there who can help us make sense of this? Please share your thoughts in the comments section. Suggestion 68. I think this is well worth pondering. The universe is secretly plotting your success. If you embrace this delusion, your path to success will be much easier. I hope that after listening to these 68 suggestions, everyone will ultimately achieve their goals and attain the success they desire. All right, that's all for today.